Okay, now let's look at 32. Now we're going to start with denominators that are not monomials. Okay, and we're going to have to add or subtract. And the rules are kind of the same for add or subtract, you just got to pay attention to signs. Okay, so I've got 5x minus 1, binomial for my first denominator in my first fraction, and I have x plus 2 in my second one on number 32. And basically your common denominator on problems like this, on these, are going to be these two multiplied together. So I'm going to have 5x minus 1, that binomial, multiplied by x plus 2. And let's make this a little bit bigger. So if you notice, I've got my 5x minus 1. I need to multiply this one by x plus 2. So I got to do the top times x plus 2. Notice I had a 3 up there. That needs to get distributed. So I'm going to distribute that and write that down on the top. That will be 3x plus 6. When I distribute that 3 to the x plus 2 I'm multiplying by. Over here, I need to multiply this by the binomial I'm missing, which is 5x minus 1. Now, really pay attention. That's a positive 3 that I'm distributing here. I'm just going to keep going right here. So this is plus 15x, and then positive 3 distributed to negative 1 is minus 3. So if I combine like terms on the top, 3x plus 15x, that's 18x, and then positive 6 minus 3 is plus 3, and it's over my 5x minus 1 and my x plus 2. And you just got to check. I would always say, can I factor anything on the top? And I could take a 3 out of the top, and I'd be left with 6x plus 1 all over 5x minus 1 and x plus 2. Now, nothing does cancel. Notice we got 6x plus 1 for a binomial factor here. If this would have been a 6x plus 1, then that could have canceled. So you always need to check that. If you can factor it, something may cancel. But that would be your answer. Now, it would be okay to do this because nothing canceled, or say that that's your answer. Let's go to 35. We're going to focus in on 35. And notice my denominator here is already factored. I've got a monomial of 3m times a binomial of n plus 2. And then in my second one, I just have a 2. So that's like a monomial. So what I got to do is I got to figure out my common denominator here. And your common denominator on this one gets a little tricky, but you need to say, okay, well, what if I had 3m and 2 for denominators? Well, what's the common denominator for 3 and 2 would be 6, and then I need the m on there. So for my common denominator here, I'm going to need 6m, and then I need my binomial of m plus 2. The 6m comes from the monomial 2 there, the monomial 3m there. Just like if you had monomial denominators, that would be the common denominator. So now I'm going to write this over my common denominator 6m, m plus 2. Now notice, here's what I have in this one. What am I missing? Well, I've got to get from 3m to 6m. So I'm going to times by 2. So I'm going to times by 2, so 3m times 2 is 6m. Okay? And then over here, I've got to multiply by 3m to get my 6m out in front, and then my m plus 2. So I've got to multiply by 3m, m plus 2. Now what I would do is change that to plus, and that really means that negative, or that 5m is negative. So if I keep going right here, I have negative 5m times 3m, which is minus 15m squared, and I am going to distribute that to m plus 2. So it's going to be negative 15m cubed minus 30m squared, if I take my negative 15m squared times 2. Now, can I factor the top? And you can take out 3m from all this on top. I can take out 3m, and I'm left with 2 minus 5m squared and minus 10m all over all over 6m. Oops, I'll just scribble that out, but I got 6m, m plus 2. Now, this is a monomial and this is a monomial. I can reduce that. This m cancels, 3 goes in here once and in here twice. So I'm left with 2 minus 5m squared minus 10m. I don't really need to keep parentheses around that anymore, as I just have a 1 out in front, and then on the bottom I have 2 left out in front, and then this 2 left out in front, and then this m plus 2. Okay? And this would be one form of the answer. I could have this bottom in expanded form and leave it, distribute it back through if I wanted to, but I'm not going to.